How we doing? So today we're doing a review on the Hoyt Klash. Again, hasn't been made. This one here is a retro review, so it hasn't been made for a couple of years. Prior to this was the Ignite. Ignite Klash. Anyway, they're not any different to each other. They've got twin yoke system, so that refers to the fact that this is just a simple twin cam. It wasn't a cam and a half, which Hoyt was is well known for their cam and a half system. I'm a huge fan. I love the cam and a half system, and it's probably only been in the last couple of years, in my opinion, that there's really been a cam that I could consider being as good or maybe even a little bit better. But this here wasn't. This was just a simple twin cam system, and I say that because that's exactly what it is. It's simple, you know. For a bow technician, it's really simple to adjust and change, and it's got quite a lot of draw length adjustment here. The downfall with the Klash, in my opinion, was the price point. It was always just a little bit too dear. At least that's here in Australia. Like other countries may have had different scenarios, but you know, it was just always that little bit too expensive, and it was going up against, you know what I mean, your diamonds. It was going up against your bears. It was going up against, you know, your PSC bows, and some of them were even, you know, were cheaper on their own right. Like that's just where they fitted in the market. A lot of people in Australia, you know, just tried to make this fit the price that it had to, which meant that it was very, for an archery shop, it was very uneconomic to really sell them or to try and sell too many of these, because to sell them you sort of had to deflate the price. That sort of said, you know, the other thing to keep in mind is that, you know, the Hoyt always came with pretty reasonable accessories. Like, you know, this bow quiver here is actually aluminium, you know what I mean. Look, still got the standard whisker biscuit, and, you know, got one of their, I think it was the Profire Fuse sight, maybe, might have been what they were called. 3-pin, not a 5-pin, you know. They could have just put in the 5-pin sight, you know, with this. But this is a polymer, and it's not like which is a fancy way to say plastic, kinda. But yeah, it's not the cheap plastic. It's somewhat durable. You know, the dovetails, when you tighten down on them, you know, they're gonna stay there. It's kind of usable. Like this diamond here behind me, it's a very cheap and a very a cheap kit to get going with, and it's got a lot of adjustment in that bow. But seriously, that sight, you know, they really just need to put a slightly better sight on it. The sight is probably only good enough on that bow to last you a couple of weeks when you're starting out, and then you're kind of really just going to have to buy another one. You know, so not the case with the Hoyts, not the case with the Leets. A lot of the Leet basins and ambers and everything, they come with quite good accessories. They come with all the CVE accessories with your Elites. You know, unfortunately, like I said, Hoyt don't make this, and they haven't replaced it with anything. You know, the Tourex is their first product off their line there. It comes with virtually the same kit. You have the option for a drop away there on the Tourex, but that's a different thing altogether. So, you know, some of the downfalls that I also didn't like, outside of the price point really being too much and having to be artificially sort of brought down to compete with the market, which then obviously made it almost not viable for archery shops to even sell them in Australia. Other countries may have been different. Was the axle to axle. Like the axle to axle, I believe on these were 29 inches. You know, it's just too short. Like, you know, one of the greatest things that they've done with the new PSE is that they've added a little bit longer. I think it's a 32 or 33 now instead of the 30 inches. And that's what it really needs to be. Like, if you've got a bow that goes to 30 inches, you kind of need it to have an axle to axle of a couple of inches more. You know, if you want it to go to 31, you know, you're kind of going to need a 33-inch axle to axle. That's in my opinion. You know, and just to explain that, when your draw length the closer it gets to the axle to axle length, which is this length here to the other cam on the other side. So, the closer you get to that, the harder the bow becomes to shoot. Tournament bows, you'll see they're all 38, 40 inches long, and they've got a maximum of 32 inches of draw or something, but they're 40 inches long. That's because it's more stable and it's an easier shot. And when you if you were to overdraw the bow, so if you had like a 30-inch axle and it went to 32 inches, you'd find that extremely difficult to shoot correctly and accurately. And considering these are kind of beginner adult bows, or even adolescents growing up, having the axle right is a big thing. Now Hoyt, I suppose, we're trying to do everything with one bow. That's probably come from the Matthews. The Matthews, they originally sort of had this design of bow with the massive amount of adjustments that you could give to a young kid, and they could grow into it, and it would fit them as they were growing up, and then potentially it would still fit them as an adult. And that's sort of where this is. It's probably not really. They probably really didn't design this to be just sold to an adult to be shot at maximum length. It was more like, well, when you grow up, you can get there and you can do it. But they were probably assuming by the time, you grew up and got to 29 inches and, 50 or 60 pounds, that you would probably upgrade into another bow. Because the truth is, you really kind of needed two of them. See, PSC do two of them. I think Diamond do multiple models where they kind of have these all-round bows, but they're kind of more tailored to the younger people, right? And then they have sort of the all-round bow, which is more tailored to the adult, and that's kind of where they're like the PSC Stinger sign. It kind of fits in that, where it's really it leans more towards a real adult sort of designed bow, but it also has the ability to maybe go down and fit a 14 or 15-year-old, no problems at all. Where things like this here, are kind of probably more leaning towards the lower end, up to the 16-year-old, and then they'll get a different bow from there. With that said, then all of a sudden you had another downfall, is that because Hoyt have their bridge designs, they tended to be a little bit heavier, right, than some of the other options, for the younger kids. And then if you were selling it with a kit, all of a sudden the good quality aluminium componentries that came with it also hindered the fact that they were also heavier. And then it was like, well, maybe a better quality polymer product, that was going to be lighter could have been a better option. So, this is really quite a nice bow for the right person. The problem is, in my opinion, that right person really is quite a narrow thing. It doesn't really fit the 12 and 13-year-olds. It's kind of not going to fit them. And then on the other hand, it mightn't really fit anyone over about 16. So the ideal size for this, and look, I'm using ages, but it's really all about the size of the person, not really anything to do with the age. But yeah, so that window there, for its optimum use was very short. Like I said, the smaller people, say you're under 13-ish sort of size people, were potentially going to run into an issue with the physical weight. And then, like I said, once you got to 16 or so, when you're starting to get out in the draw length is probably the better way to put it. So when you're starting to get out to, the probably over 28 inches, into the 29 inch, if you were pushing out to that far, then all of a sudden the axle length wasn't going to be ideal for you there. But very capable. Like at all of the draw lengths, it's for all of these things that we're talking about, still quite a capable bow. Now this is on, we've maxed this out, and I've, in every way, draw length and in bow weight, I've got a standard 400 spine arrow. I think this is pushing, you know, only about 64 or 5 pounds or something. So it didn't go all the way to 70, but we'll just have a little look here. So 243. Like I said, this is genuinely a you know, more of the hunting style weight arrow. It's not supposed to be a speed arrow. So I'm actually you know, that's a pretty nice. It's a pretty nice speed, really. And we got 238. You know, the thing that would have been cool is if you've seen my, if you've seen a video, I did a video on the, no, don't know if I've got it, on the PSC Fever, which was just the one that I did recently. It had the option for the cable to change. So this cable to change its sort of location, and it produced a easier draw over a much higher performing draw. That would have been a really nice thing to add to this bow. That might have made it a little bit more usable for some people. So 235. So anyway, that there is the Klash / you know, the Hoyt Ignite. You know, if you can pick one up, because they're not longer made anymore, but if you can pick one up second hand, they'll definitely serve you very well. You know, more than capable for hunting. You know, if that's really what you want to do, hunt. These are going to be, you know, definitely a nice little thing to use. Probably not so much if you want to get into the tournament side of things, again, because of the axle to axle. But then again, yeah, depends on your draw length. If you're 25, 26 inches, it might be perfect. But anyway, that's the Hoyt Klash, and I will talk to you next time. See ya.